WandaVision has finally ended, and I think a lot of people won't like this series finale. It will definitely be down the middle. But let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the finale of WandaVision. WandaVision has concluded after 9 episodes. I like this episode, but I also have a lot of nitpicks, which I'll get into. But let's first talk about the good before I talk about the bad. Now, we know this story continues into Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man 3 No Way Home. But there was no clear signs in this episode to say that the story will continue in those movies. Now, we know from the book, from Doctor Strange, it will, but there was no clear hint, no cameo to say, hey, this is where the story continues. But also, this series is not just for a continuation in Doctor Strange 2 or Spider-Man 3, it's also a continuation for Thor Love and Thunder, for Ant-Man 3, and then also Captain Marvel 2 because of Darcy for Agent Woo and also Monica. So that's interesting that it caters for the entire MCU and not just 2 upcoming movies. As I said, I liked this episode. I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed the action, but I have a lot of nitpicks. But we all know that Agatha, a witch, is trying to obtain Wanda's powers. Now, Wanda was never trained as a witch, and Agatha, her whole plan all along is to figure out how is Wanda manifesting this power to overtake Westview and make this false reality for everyone, to bring Vision back, to create her children. Agatha is very much eager to gain this power and to understand it. Agatha was trained as a witch. She was brought up as a witch, but Scarlet Witch was not. And as we realised in the last episode that Wanda was Scarlet Witch, Agatha knew that that's a powerful thing to be and wanted to stop Wanda. And even in this episode, we get clear indications from Agatha that you can't control this power, Wanda. You're going to need me eventually. And Agatha lives by the end of the episode. But I thought a lot of the visual effects were absolutely outstanding. The visual effects team have been great throughout the entire season. The action sequences in this episode were pretty good as well. General Hayward, who created White Vision to take down Wanda, his arc kind of ended prematurely with Darcy just driving her truck into his car and then his arc being completely finished for this episode, and we don't get to see him till the end, which I found a little bit strange and a little bit stupid. But White Vision versus Vision was pretty badass, some really cool action moments there, and I really liked how Wanda is confronted by White Vision and she's so confused. Vision, is it you? And then the White Vision just grabs her head and tries to crush it, but then Wanda is helped by Vision, the manifestation of Vision. And I was kind of a little bit curious, can Vision, the manifestation, the false Vision, can he fight even though he's not real? But it looks like he can, because in the Hex he can fight. The Suns have powers in the Hex, but that Hex goes away. Those characters are not real. But a White Vision versus Vision I thought was pretty good. And some of the dialogue between those two characters, or one character, was interesting and brought me back to Age of Ultron when Vision was confronted by Ultron and them two spoke and had an interesting conversation about humanity and about life. And this one was kind of very similar. And Vision was able to help White Vision realize his history and who exactly he is, and turned White Vision from being evil to being more curious about life, and he just kind of flew off and we didn't get to see the character again. It's probably a clear sign that Vision will be brought back to life in that body, and that will be Vision. Very much like Gamora, when she was killed and she'll be brought back, a different timeline, she'll be in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, stuff like that. I'm not a big fan of it. If you're going to kill a character, kill a character. If you're going to go back in time and use the character again, you can, but to have multiple versions of the character within the one universe and just take who you want who died and stuff like that, I don't really understand it. Why can't you go get Black Widow from a different timeline? Different things like that. It's pretty interesting, but I won't be too hard on it. But yeah, the action was brilliant. The visual effects team have been absolutely brilliant. Vision versus Vision was really good. I would have liked to see that going on a little bit longer, and it's good to see Vision because he is powerful, but he isn't used that much within the MCU as a powerful being. But I liked how he had a good action sequence in this. And Paul Bettany, of course, was trolling us about that secret cameo, an actor he always wanted to work with, and there will be fireworks. It was him all along, so he did some pretty badass trolling there. But Agatha v Wanda was pretty interesting, and it was an interesting scene because we got to see Wanda be confronted by the people of Westview who are being controlled. These people are in pain. They're being controlled day to day. And when they sleep, their nightmares is Wanda's nightmares, which I thought was absolutely tormenting. Imagine that, all the grief that Wanda's gone through in her life, these people are living that in their nightmares, which is pretty scary and makes Wanda out to be a pretty bad person for doing this for so long. These people are in pain. They haven't even got to see their family or their kids. That was pretty effed up. But yeah, they confronted Wanda and they wanted Wanda to stop all this, and Wanda then got a little bit kind of overtaken, everyone around her, and she was nearly going to kill all the people, and she had to stop herself. So she very much is on the edge, and Wanda is very close to being a full-on villain. She really is, and by the end of the episode, we kind of see that. She can't control this power, and it's going to overtake her eventually, which is crazy, and where probably Doctor Strange will come into place. But the fight sequence between Wanda and Agatha was pretty good. It could have been longer, it could have been more intense, but it was more kind of a magic and spells and that kind of thing. And yeah, it could have been longer. I just thought it could have been a lot better. But the visual effects, of course, were just brilliant. And I like how Wanda used her powers to do something similar that she did to Thor, that she did to Iron Man and Age of Ultron. Showed him like a dark timeline. Tony Stark had to see all the Avengers dead, which led to him creating having PTSD and stuff like that. Thor got to see his world kind of killed off. So yeah, so it brought us back to Agatha's origin story in Salem and Massachusetts, her being put in the stake as a witch and things like that. But she's too powerful. She's able to overtake this kind of nightmare from Wanda and make it into her own nightmare. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, the fight sequence, all that could have been a lot better between those two. It could have went on for longer. I would like to see something extra with it. Vision fight could have went on longer as well. Maybe implemented them into the main fight, and maybe use Monica a lot more than they did, which I thought was a little bit disappointing. But Agatha is trying to take Wanda's powers, but Wanda's just too powerful. She really is, and she creates kind of a hex or a spell where only the witch that casts the spell can use their powers in it. Very similar to what Agatha did in the underground lair a few episodes ago. So that was kind of cool as well. And in the end, it looks like that Wanda took all of Agatha's powers. That's what it looks like. A lot of Agatha's powers went from her body into Wanda. So maybe that's a good thing or a bad thing for Wanda. Maybe it makes her more powerful. But she damn is scary right now, especially in that post-credits scene, which was insane. But Agatha's punishment, she won't be killed off by Wanda. No, she's going to live in Westview under this false reality, this kind of noisy neighbor who wants to put their business and everything. That's going to be the life for Agatha. But I think Katrin Hahn will be brought back at some stage to either be a mentor to Wanda, or maybe they'll team up at some stage, because it looks like Scarlet Witch is going to be pretty evil and she may need help kind of casting some spells or something like that. So that's going to be interesting as well. But yeah, and then kind of Monica jumped in front of the two kids, the two boys, Tommy and Billy. They're about to get shot by Hayward, and she jumps in front of them, and she has her powers. She's able to stop the bullets, and of course one of the kids as well stops it with his powers. And it's cool, but the kids aren't real. Would they have really died? They're not real. They're in this false reality. They're created by Wanda. So how can I feel for characters who I know ultimately aren't real, and even if they die, they don't really die because they don't exist? So it's crazy that way. And Wanda didn't want to give up that, but by the end of the episode she realized that she has to. These people are in this world and they're in a lot of pain, so she needs to give Westview back to them, needs to give them their lives back. So in the end she's able to take away the hex, and she's able to get rid of Vision, the false Vision, the fake Vision, and also her kids. But it was a sweet moment where she puts them to bed, and then yeah, they'll just eventually go away. But it was a touching moment between Wanda and Vision. Their dialogue all season has been pretty interesting. And here I thought it was also brilliant. The acting was top notch from the two actors, and about Vision saying, look, we were broken up before, we lost each other before, but we found each other, and it will happen again. So Vision will definitely come back, they will definitely meet, and it may take love from Vision to actually save Wanda in the end, maybe in Doctor Strange 2 or Spider-Man 3, but Vision will definitely return, and Wanda is going to need redemption, and it looks like Vision may be that pathway. And maybe the kids can come back in some form. Maybe Wanda can create them with spells. Maybe she'll have a natural birth in the future, and the kids will exist then, Billy and Tommy. But we'll have to wait and see. But it was a touching moment between those two. Visual effects again, absolutely top notch, and it leads into the continuation of of the characters. And this, even though Wanda's been around since Age of Ultron, this is like an origin story for her character. This really delves deep into who she is, to what she is, to her past traumas and who she is now. And at the end she flies off and probably trying to find herself and understand what these powers are, which we see in the post-credit scene. She's in the middle of nowhere in a cabin, and she's actually trying to read the book, trying to understand her powers and get even more powerful. So, but there was also some screams of children, so maybe the children can come back. Maybe she's that powerful she can recreate them. But it's going to be interesting to see how that goes forward, and if she will turn into a big bad villain that Doctor Strange will have to stop and to contain. Now let's talk about some of the bad in this episode. Evan Peters is Quicksilver. We got so excited a few episodes ago that he would be the Quicksilver from the X-Men universe. Turns out, nope. I remember I made a review a few weeks ago and I talked about that my heart is telling me that, oh my god, it's Quicksilver from the X-Men universe. I'm so happy. But my head was telling me that this guy is just somebody from the town who is being used to play the character as Quicksilver for Wanda in her false reality. And it turns out my head was right. Look, I was so happy. I thought they were introducing mutants. I thought there was going to be a multiverse because that's what's going to happen in Doctor Strange 2 and Spider-Man 3. The characters from different universes are going to appear in those movies, and I thought this would be the first sign of that. I thought we might get a Michael Fassbender or Patrick Stewart, but I would have just been happy with Evan Peters because I thought he was a cool character in the X-Men series. He had some badass scenes. Evan Peters is great in absolutely anything. American Horror Story, X-Men. He's just great to have. And I thought he was too big of a talent to not use in the MCU if you're going to bring him in. And also, if it's not going to be Quicksilver, it's going to be confusing for people because people are going to automatically think, oh, X-Men, you're bringing him into this universe. But it turns out he's just Ralph. He's the person that Agatha was always talking about. Oh, Ralph. And she was using his house. What the fuck? It's just crazy in that way. And people are going to be confused because you're going to think Quicksilver. But then I think he was an actor. Ralph was an actor. And he wasn't Pietro whatsoever. He was just playing the role of Quicksilver. He didn't have any powers or anything. Agatha was giving that to him. And Wanda just believed that he was her brother, Pietro. So I was a little bit disappointed there. And they used his name as a joke for Boner. And I just thought, man, he got such a great talent there. Do something with him. But it turns out that this entire series wasn't for the introduction of mutants. It was more for witches and more of an origin story for Wanda and these characters. And for that, it was great in doing that. But the hype just got a little bit too big. The theories just got a little bit too big, which I'll talk about, which is really just bad reporting. And maybe Marvel should have came out and said, this isn't true. But there's one thing that Marvel can't say got out of hand, is Evan Peters, because they're the ones who created this. Kevin Feige said, yeah, go ahead. The showrunner said, yeah, go ahead. They brought Evan Peters back from the X-Men universe to play a random character even though he was playing Pietro Quicksilver. It's pretty cool. It's a nod. But you get people's hopes up when you're doing the multiverse. In 2 other movies, when you're introducing the X-Men, maybe in the future, and you're thinking, wow, could we see the Fox X-Men universe and characters be brought into the MCU? How badass would that be? So I wasn't too happy there, and Evan Peters was barely in the episode. What, a minute at tops? Less probably of screen time. And he was just an actor. So yeah, I wasn't happy with that whatsoever. And I think many people won't be happy at that. I just wasn't happy at all. Then Monica Rambone, who got these powers a few episodes ago, brilliant scene where she got her powers look badass. And we will get to see her more in Captain Marvel 2. And you know what? I'm actually excited for Captain Marvel 2 to see more of her. I wasn't a big fan of Captain Marvel 1, but I think her being introduced into that movie is a big plus, and I really like her as an actress, as a character, and her powers seem absolutely crazy and badass. We'll have to see how that continues big time, okay? But I wasn't happy how she wasn't used too much in this episode. We didn't get to see more from her. I thought she would be in the final fight. I thought she might fight Wanda for a bit, or Agatha, or White Vision. You could have did that, but she didn't. She just saved 2 fake kids. And it was good. She put her life on the line, and that proved to Wanda that she can trust Monica. And that might come back to play in future movies. But I thought they should have used her a lot more. Now, the Luke Skywalker cameo did not happen. And you know what? It's bad reporting. Because the person who interviewed it was Elizabeth Olsen at the time. put those words in her mouth. She goes, will we see a Luke Skywalker type of cameo in this? I think Elizabeth Olsen said, oh yeah, probably, or something like that. You know, she didn't fully say, yeah, there's going to be something on the level of Luke Skywalker. So there was no cameo. There was a cameo. It was a scroll popped up. Look, I'm not a fan of Captain Marvel, so I wasn't too happy with that either. The scrolls, for me, the makeup, everything looks pretty bad. I just didn't like it. So it didn't get me off my seat. It didn't go, oh my god, it's a scroll. You know, I was expecting maybe a Doctor Strange to show up, and he didn't. I know, and we had all these theories because Evan Peters was Quicksilver that, oh, the X-Men could be in it. We could get Michael Fassbender. We could get Patrick Stewart, Wolverine. These were just some of the theories people had because Evan Peters from the X-Men universe was brought in. And we knew there was going to be a cameo, or we thought there was going to be a cameo. But it looks like just fan theories got out of hand big time on this series. And maybe the showrunner should have come out. I think the showrunner came out a few days ago and said that, yeah, people are going to be a little bit disappointed by this finale. He knew himself. Well, why not say it a few weeks ago that, no, this is just a contained story about the origin of Wanda and her family and her trauma. It's not about anything else. I know it would have took a lot away from it, but still, people are going to be disappointed after this finale that a lot of characters didn't show up when they expected it to be. Now, Paul Bettany was trolling, and that's kind of okay. I'm not too upset at Paul Bettany. I'm more upset at the reporter who said Luke Skywalker type of cameo, and the cast went along with it, and nobody rectified it whatsoever. There was no big cameo. There was no Doctor Strange, which I actually thought Doctor Strange was a guarantee. I would have put money on it at the start of the season. Doctor Strange would have showed up because of the powers, because of the book, and because it was leading into Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness. But nowhere to be seen. Not even a mention of Doctor Strange or Spider-Man or any of the other characters. You don't have to, but we know this is a continuation of the story. So, yeah, it just got out of hand. And there was no big what the F moment. Oh my god, I can't believe that just happened. It was a really good episode. And I thought it was a really good closure for the entire series. It's just the theories got out of hand. People got excited because of what the false reporting and headlines were. And I think that's why a lot of people will be disappointed and will be thinking, is that it? I wanted more from this episode. And I wanted more as well. But for what it was doing, for what the other episodes set up, I thought it nailed the finale pretty well. The action was good. Some of the acting was good. It set up a lot of questions for future projects. But it's just, you feel like there should have been more. There should have been something else in it. The action maybe should have went on a little bit longer. We were told there's going to be a big, massive action set piece at the end of this. It was good. It was entertaining, but it wasn't massive. It could have been a lot bigger. But look, for what it did, I thought it did a good thing. For 8 weeks, series were going on. People were watching week to week. People were engaged. People couldn't wait for the next episode. People were gobsmacked by the cliffhangers, by Quicksilver, by Evan Peters, by all that stuff. But I think people will just want a little bit more payoff. Like no Ultron. That was a thing. After every episode, watch Age of Ultron. Ultron didn't even appear. Not even his voice or anything like that. So yeah, I was disappointed at that too. So no big cameo, no Age of Ultron, no X-Men, no mutants. It was just an origin story of Wanda's trauma, her being a witch, and all that kind of stuff, and her love for her kids and Vision, which is fine. And I think this show would benefit from a binge watching, knowing that there's no big Skywalker cameo. There is no big X-Men introduction. Just watch it for the characters, for Wanda, for her loving family. I think there's a good binge watch there right now, and you can pick up a lot of things. But again, there was no Hydra, even though a lot of the adverts were Hydra heavy. Why was there adverts? You know, so there is a lot of questions still to be asked about this show. And did they check off all the boxes? I will say no, they didn't. And it's interesting how it didn't stick the landing, because I said a few episodes ago, WandaVision has the potential to be one of the greatest comic book content of all time. But it didn't nail everything. And I was prepared for that. I was prepared for Marvel not to nail it, because Endgame didn't quite nail it for me and a lot of things that we're doing. So, yeah, it is pretty interesting. But look, Winter Soldier and Falcon is coming out in, 2 weeks? So that should be something to look forward to. It should have some good action, some good set pieces in that. But ultimately, I enjoyed WandaVision, all 9 episodes. I was intrigued. I was, the theories, I had a lot of theories. I thought Doctor Strange, Magneto, Quicksilver, I thought a lot of those things could happen, but it seemed to be just too big to happen all in one season of this. And maybe it might be a clear indication that the MCU shows on Disney Plus won't have a greater impact on the MCU as a whole. They'll set up stories, they'll introduce characters, they'll have some arcs, but the bigger set pieces, the bigger what the F moments will be kept for the main continuity of the MCU, which is on the big screen and the big movies, for now at least, whatever happens with theaters. But yeah, WandaVision finale, I enjoyed it. I liked it. I liked the entire season. I was just a little bit let down by some of the action, by some of the payoff, by some of the cameos. But again, a lot of that was manifested by bloggers, by journalists, and maybe just fans in their own right. And maybe the showrunner should have come out and said, look, there is no type of cameo like that. But at the end, it creates hype, and he was never going to not try and create hype for his own show. So, yeah. But ultimately, guys, I enjoyed WandaVision. I wouldn't say it was a failure. I wouldn't say the ending was a failure whatsoever. I think it was enjoyable. It was good. And I liked it. I did like it. I did. What was your thoughts? What did you think of the finale of WandaVision? Were you let down? Were you so happy at the ending? I thought there was some really touching moments, emotional moments, big time between WandaVision and her kids and all that kind of stuff. And that stuff worked brilliantly throughout the entire 9 episodes. But guys, give a like, comment, subscribe, please. Let me know below your thoughts. I'm very interested. And follow me on all the social stuff is in the end credits. But WandaVision has ended after 9 episodes. The story continues into Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man 3. Hopefully, they don't butcher the returning characters in those movies. Guys, I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy. Have a good one.